there are general sufferings, then the specific sufferings. Then general sufferings is, I should say, things that are not specific to any one birth. Then bad deeds and mental afflictions, many types of birth. Ignorance fuels many types of birth. Then taking away their bad deeds and ignorance would be general samsara. Then specific samsara. Then if you're a human, then there's specific sufferings that come with the human birth. Birth, old age, death. Then the many types of suffering we face. Then with the hungry ghost, the specific suffering is they can't eat food and drink nicely. They go for long periods of time without food and drink and very much want them. Everything's pus and blood, very lousy existence. Then with each type of being, you eventually take away their specific types of suffering. Generally, in the human realm, there are 3 types of suffering. Suffering of suffering, suffering of change, then the pervasive suffering, or the suffering of conditioned existence. Then suffering of suffering is suffering by definition. Then it's there's no reason to argue about cancer or AIDS or some type of sickness or death. Then it's suffering. It's just horrible. You don't have to think about whether it's suffering. Then suffering of change, then within this is many pleasures that we have. Then a good bowl of ice cream, sometimes if you have too much, then not so good. You get the pleasure of eating a bowl of ice cream if you eat too much. Or sometimes even if you just eat just the right amount, then you get sick. Get indigestion and you have to run for the Rolaids or the Tums. Then that changed, that nature. If it was inherently pleasure, then it wouldn't change into suffering. Then that's many of our samsaric pleasures. Then they change into suffering. Then that's this type of suffering. When you sit down for too long, you need to get up and move. Then you get up and move too much and you need to sit down. Not each becomes suffering. Then when you go to sleep, you can't, if they kept your body still, then many problems come. Even lying down becomes suffering. As you sleep, you have to move around. If you just lie there, not moving for a long time, then even resting becomes suffering. Unbelievable. Then there's pervasive suffering, which is just the suffering of the various parts, the various types of conditioned existence, the fact that the transitory heaps that you have, then they change and they are born of ignorance, bad deeds, and bad karma. And they will degenerate and mature and degenerate and cause lots of suffering. Then it's just this type of human rebirth in itself is suffering. Luckily, that suffering is not essential, unchanging, uncaused. there are causes, many causes to that suffering, then that suffering can be changed. Luckily, if these sufferings had inherent, unchanging, causeless, like really held in essence, an unchanging essence of suffering, then it wouldn't change and we would be stuck suffering. Then there would be no nirvana and no Buddhahood and no liberation. Then Len, taking. Then you visualize all the various realms, starting out with the hell realms, all their sufferings as black light. Then you take it into you through your breath. Then you destroy it in a red flame of self-cherishing in your heart. Then that's the taking. You're taking away bad deeds, mental afflictions, and all the various sufferings of the different realms. Hunger, anger, all the lousy conditions of these various realms. When you start out this practice, as I said before, you first do it with yourself. You do it with a future you, like tonight. Then you would do Tonglen on the you that will face work tomorrow. Or if you do your Tonglen in the morning, then you do it with the thought when you have problems later in the day, then you take away your future you's suffering. And then eventually, when you become steady as you as an object, then you extend it to your mother, father, then close friends. Then eventually, all the various people around you and enemies. And then eventually, all the various realms of beings, from the hell realms to the animal realms, to hungry ghost realms, to the demigod realms, to the god realms, and to the human realms. Then when you do this meditation, you visualize the Dzogchen, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, generally in the center. Jade Tsongkhapa, if you are a Gelug, of Gelug lineage. Then could be Shakyamuni Buddha. Then could be your Lama in the center. Then all the Tantric Lamas, the Bodhichitta lineage. Then the emptiness lineage. Then the profound practice lineage above then your guru is in front. But all the Jade Tsongkhapa, all should be thought of as your root guru. Essence is your root guru. Then if you have difficulty meditating on the Dzogchen, then it's okay if it's a rough picture of the entire merit field. But in the beginning, you can also meditate on just one figure, then your teacher. Then that's okay.